Welcome, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something, well, really fundamental, building self-improvement habits that actually stick around.
Yeah, not just chasing those fleeting bursts of motivation, right?
Exactly. Or those quick fixes that seem so tempting, but often just don't work long term.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission here is really to cut through the noise.
Mm.
We've looked at the solid research, habit formation, goal setting, the actual science of lasting change.
And pull out the evidence-based strategies, the stuff that works.
Precisely. To give you, the real tools for genuine personal growth.
Because you've probably seen it all, right? The ads, the programs promising instant transformation.
Oh, definitely. That allure is powerful.
But what the research consistently shows is that real sustainable change, it comes from understanding how our brains, our bodies, actually adapt over time.
Right. So we want to paint a clearer picture today of why those quick fixes often, well, fall flat.
And what a more effective, long-term approach actually looks like.
Absolutely. We've dug into why we're even drawn to rapid change in the first place. The marketing tactics used.
Some are pretty clever, you have to admit.
They really are. And the psychological, even physiological reasons these quick fixes usually don't last.
And then we'll shift gears. We'll get into the fascinating science behind how habits actually form in the brain.
Which is key to understanding how to change them, right?
Totally. And from that understanding, we'll get practical. We'll look at solid strategies for building good habits.
And for breaking those old ones, we want to get rid of.
Yeah, using frameworks like James Clear's Atomic Habits, which many find really useful.
We'd also touch on setting goals that actually motivate you.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, how to keep that motivation going when, life happens.
When things get tough. Yeah.
And it's not just about the doing, is it? We also looked at those inner qualities, things like patience, self-compassion.
Which are so vital for navigating the ups and downs. They really are.
Definitely. And finally, we'll talk about tracking progress in ways that actually keep you inspired, helping you see, and importantly, celebrate your wins.
Even the small ones.
Especially the small ones. Okay, so first things first. Why are we so drawn to these quick fixes?
It's interesting. The research points to huge societal pressures. This constant stream of messages about what a successful life is supposed to look like.
Right. The perfect job, perfect body, perfect Instagram feed.
Exactly. And it creates this internal drive to measure up, to feel like we belong, to get that acceptance.
It taps into a really fundamental human need, doesn't it? Connection, belonging.
It really does. And when we feel we're falling short of these often, let's be honest, unrealistic ideals.
Yeah, often very
It
unrealistic.
can lead to feeling unfulfilled, maybe even angry, or sometimes just numb, kind of checking out.
And social media just pours fuel on that fire,
Yeah.
right? Amplifying everything.
Oh, massively. Those curated feeds make social comparison almost constant. You measure yourself against these idealized versions of reality.
And often end up feeling inadequate.
Mm-hmm. And the sources suggest this pressure might be even more intense now, especially for people whose lives were significantly disrupted over the past few years.
It really creates this perfect storm, doesn't it? This desire for a magic bullet to close that gap between where we are and where we think we should be.
And that's exactly where the self-improvement industry often steps in. They see that desire.
Using some pretty sophisticated marketing.
You bet. Often promising incredibly fast, dramatic results. Lose X pounds in Y days with almost no effort.
Or become instantly productive with this one simple trick or tool.
Right. And it's often tied to a specific product, a supplement, an app, implying that's the key.
And the marketing often relies heavily on, well, stories, right? Anecdotes.
Exactly. Those dramatic before and afters, the glowing testimonials. Less so on the hard science.
They use terms that sound scientific, like clean eating or detox, but they're often vague, lacking real scientific backing.
Mm-hmm. And celebrity endorsements. They add that layer of credibility, even if the claims kind of fly in the face of basic science.
It triggers that bandwagon effect, doesn't it, if everyone else seems to be doing it?
We feel we should too. And the financial incentive for these companies is huge, so the marketing is incredibly persuasive.
Okay, but here's the crucial part. Why do these quick fixes, despite looking so good on paper, usually fail, psychologically speaking?
Well, they tend to offer this illusion of progress, right? A superficial fix without actually getting to the root of the problem, the underlying patterns, the emotions driving the habit.
That's such a key point.
Yeah.
Real change takes consistent effort over time. It's something quick fixes are designed to bypass.
And when those promised fast results don't happen, what follows? Disappointment, frustration.
And worse, it can really chip away at your self-belief. Your confidence takes a hit.
Definitely. You can get stuck in this cycle, always looking for the next quick fix instead of building something sustainable.
And just knowing what you should do, that intellectual understanding often isn't enough, is it?
Rarely. Real change usually means engaging with your emotions, understanding your deeper motivations, your triggers. Generic advice just doesn't cut it.
Because it's not tailored. It's one size fits all.
Exactly. It ignores that we're all unique, different personalities, histories, challenges. Some approaches even overemphasize self-reliance, which can be harmful for people who struggle with trust, for instance.
When ironically, a vital piece for lasting change is self-acceptance. Being okay with where you are now.
Which quick fixes tend to completely ignore. They focus on this idealized future you, skipping the crucial first step.
Sometimes chasing quick fixes can even be a way to avoid facing deeper issues, right? Like anxiety or insecurity.
It can absolutely be a form of avoidance. And it's not just in our heads, there are physiological reasons too.
Right. Our bodies don't like drastic changes.
Not at all. They strive for balance, for homeostasis. So slashing calories suddenly, it can mess with hormones, actually increase appetite, making the diet incredibly hard to sustain.
And cutting out whole food groups can lead to nutritional imbalances. We've all heard about yo-yo dieting.
That cycle of rapid loss and regain, it can mess with your metabolism and again, really impact your self-esteem.
So the research really pushes for gradual adaptation. Permanent shifts, not sudden shocks.
Plus, the pressure of trying to change rapidly, that itself causes stress in the body.
Which has its own negative effects.
For sure. And trying to just force down unwanted thoughts or feelings often backfires. Our brains are complex. A lot happens beneath conscious awareness.
So purely cognitive rapid fixes often miss the mark.
They do. It makes it so clear that lasting self-improvement, it's really more like a marathon than a sprint.
Okay, so if it's a marathon, we need to understand the course. Let's dive into the science. How do habits actually form in the brain?
Okay, so fundamentally, habits are the brain's way of saving energy, making daily life more efficient.
Automating things.
Exactly. And the core mechanism is often described as the habit loop. It's a neurological cycle.
Right, the three parts. Cue, routine, reward.
Precisely. The cue is the trigger, the signal. The routine is the actual behavior you perform. And the reward is that positive feedback your brain gets, telling it, hey, remember this, do it again.
Like feeling stressed, cue, scrolling social media, routine, feeling temporarily distracted, reward.
Perfect example. And over time, that loop gets etched in. The brain region largely running this show is called the basal ganglia.
Okay, the basal ganglia.
Yeah. Now, when you're first learning something new, your prefrontal cortex, the thinking, planning, self-control part of your brain, is heavily involved.
Makes sense. You have to concentrate.
Right. But as you repeat the action again and again, the basal ganglia gradually takes over. The behavior becomes more automatic, needing less conscious effort.
Ah, so that's why ingrained habits feel almost thoughtless. It's shifted control centers, sort of.
In a way, yes. And this ties into neuroplasticity, the brain's amazing ability to rewire itself. Every time you repeat a behavior, you're strengthening the neural pathways for that habit.
Like carving a path in a forest. The more you use it, the clearer it gets.
Exactly. And a key chemical here is dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter released not just when you get the reward, but even in anticipation of it.
Ah, so that creates the craving, the desire.
Precisely. It reinforces the whole loop. And this is where classical conditioning also fits in. Environmental cues get strongly linked to that expected reward.
Like the smell of coffee becoming a cue for the routine of brewing it and the reward of that first sip.
Spot on. And researchers also talk about chunking. The brain groups sequences of actions into a single routine.
Like a mental shortcut. So you don't have to think about every single step of, say, driving a car once it's a habit.
Exactly. It makes complex behaviors efficient. Now, it's also useful to distinguish between these automatic stimulus response habitual behaviors and more conscious goal-directed behaviors, which involve weighing actions and outcomes. They use slightly different brain circuits.
Okay, understanding that neurological basis, that loop, it feels like it gives us levers to pull, right? For intentionally changing things.
Absolutely. It provides a framework for consciously working with those cues, routines, and rewards.
All right, so we know how habits work neurologically. Let's get practical. How do we actually build new positive habits that last? James Clear's Atomic Habits comes up a lot here.
It does. His framework has 4 laws. The first is make it obvious.
Make the cue unmissable.
Pretty much. He suggests starting with a habits scorecard, just becoming aware of your current habits, good and bad. No judgment, just awareness.
Okay, see what you're actually doing.
Then use implementation intentions. Get super specific. I will behavior at time in location.
So instead of I'll meditate more, it's I will meditate for 5 minutes at 7 a.m. on my living room couch.
Exactly that level of clarity. And another great strategy is habit stacking.
Ah, yes, linking the new habit to one you already do.
Right. The formula is after current habit, I will new habit. Like after I pour my morning coffee, I will take my vitamins.
You leverage the automaticity of the existing habit. That makes sense. And designing your environment, putting the cues right in front of you.
Crucial. Want to practice guitar? Leave it out where you can see it, not packed away in its case. Make the cue obvious.
Okay, law 2.
Make it attractive. The more appealing a habit feels, the more likely you are to do it.
How do you make, say, exercise more attractive if you don't naturally love it?
One way is temptation bundling. Pair something you want to do with something you need to do.
Like, only listen to your favorite podcast while you're on the treadmill.
Exactly. You bundle the temptation with the necessary action. Another angle is joining a culture where the habit is the norm.
Right, social influence. If your friends all go running, it feels more normal, maybe even desirable to join in.
Precisely. And creating a small motivation ritual, something you enjoy right before the habit, can help too. Like listening to one pump-up song before starting work.
Makes the start more appealing. Okay, law 3.
Make it easy. Reduce the friction. Lower the barriers to starting.
Fewer steps between you and the desired action.
Yes, simplify. If you want to floss, put the floss right next to the toothbrush. Don't make yourself hunt for it.
Priming the environment falls here too, right?
Mm.
Like laying out workout clothes the night before.
Definitely. Prepare in advance. Clear talks about mastering the decisive moment, optimizing those tiny choices that start you off right. And the 2-minute rule is fantastic here.
Oh, I like that one. Start ridiculously small.
Yeah. Downscale any habit until it takes less than 2 minutes. Want to read more? Read 1 page. Want to run? Just put on your running shoes.
It builds momentum without feeling overwhelming.
Exactly. It's about starting. Automation helps too, using technology for things like automatic savings transfers. Make it easy.
And the final law.
Make it satisfying. Our brains love immediate rewards. We repeat what feels good now.
So find a way to get immediate positive feedback after doing the habit.
Right. Maybe it's just acknowledging, yes, I did it. Or tracking it visually. Seeing a streak build on a habit tracker app or calendar feels good.
That visual progress is motivating.
Very. And the principle of never miss twice is key for satisfaction and consistency. Okay, you skipped a day, it happens. Just make sure you get back on track tomorrow. Don't let one slip become 2.
It prevents the what the heck effect where you give up entirely.
Exactly. And remember, consistency beats perfection every time. Small, regular actions add up way more than occasional heroic efforts.
And tying habits to your core values makes them feel more meaningful, more satisfying in a deeper way.
Absolutely. That intrinsic connection is powerful.
Okay, so that's building good habits. What about breaking the bad ones? The ones holding us back.
Clear suggests basically inverting those 4 laws.
So instead of make it obvious,
You make it invisible. Reduce your exposure to the cues that trigger the bad habit.
trying to eat less junk food, don't walk down the snack aisle, try and do waste less time online, delete the distracting apps, or use blockers.
Exactly. Reduce the trigger's visibility. Then, instead of make it attractive.
Make it unattractive.
Right. Consciously focus on the negative consequences of the bad habit. Remind yourself why you want to stop. Think about the benefits of not doing it.
Reframe it in your mind so it loses its appeal.
Third, invert. Make it easy to make it difficult.
Increase the friction. Make it harder to do the unwanted thing.
Yeah. If you want to watch less TV, maybe unplug it after use. Or put the remote in another room. Add steps. Add difficulty.
Makes sense. And finally, invert. Make it satisfying.
To make it unsatisfying. Remove any rewards associated with the bad habit. Maybe even add a small immediate consequence.
Like an accountability partner you have to report to, or that donation idea you mentioned earlier. Make it less pleasant.
Exactly. But beyond just inverting the laws, it's crucial to identify the specific habit loop cue, routine, reward for the habit you want to break.
Understand what triggers it and what need it's actually meeting.
Yes, because often you need to replace the unwanted routine with a better one that still provides a similar reward or meets that same underlying need.
So if the cue is stress, and the routine is smoking, and the reward is temporary relief, you need a healthier routine that also provides stress relief.
like deep breathing or a quick walk or talking to a friend. Find a positive replacement. Mindfulness helps here too.
Just being aware of the trigger and the urge when it arises.
Yeah, that awareness creates a space to choose a different response instead of going on autopilot. And focus on the positives of the new behavior, not just the negatives of the old one.
Makes the change feel more like gaining something, not just losing something.
Precisely. More empowering.
Okay, habits covered. Let's zoom out to goals. The SMART framework specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound is pretty well known. Does the research back it up?
Generally, yes. It's a solid framework for a reason. Specific goals avoid vagueness. Run a 5K is better than get fitter.
Measurable lets you track progress. Run a 5K in under 30 minutes.
Achievable means it's realistic for you, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually.
Relevant means it actually matters to you, aligns with your values.
And time-bound gives you a deadline. Run a 5K in under 30 minutes by the end of June.
The benefits seem clear. Focus, easier planning, quicker results maybe, less stress because you have a plan.
All true. But it's not perfect. The research also points out limitations. SMART goals can sometimes feel rigid.
Like they might miss the bigger picture or things you can't easily measure.
Exactly. Or potentially stifle creativity if you're too focused on just that specific outcome. That's why other frameworks exist too.
Like WOOP, wish, outcome, obstacle, plan.
Right. That one specifically makes you think about potential obstacles up front and plan for them, which is really useful.
And there's also growth-oriented goal setting, focusing more on the learning process, the journey, not just the finish line.
Yes. But whatever framework you use, the key things seem to be aligning goals with your core values.
So they feel meaningful.
And breaking big goals down into smaller, actionable steps makes them feel much less daunting.
Okay, setting goals is one thing. Sticking with them, sustaining motivation. That's often the hard part.
It really is. And the research strongly points towards intrinsic motivation being the key for the long haul.
That internal drive, doing something because you enjoy it, or find it purposeful, or want to grow.
Exactly. Not just for some external reward. To nurture that, you need to connect with your why, your deep reasons for the goal.
Focus on the progress you're making, not just the gap still ahead.
Celebrate those small wins along the way, and make sure your actions align with what you truly value.
What about extrinsic motivation? Rewards, praise.
It can help get you started, definitely, a useful initial spark, but it's usually less sustainable than that inner drive. When things get tough, and they will,
Setbacks happen.
that intrinsic motivation is what keeps you going. The research offers ways to handle setbacks too.
Don't see them as failures.
Right. See them as learning opportunities. What went wrong? What can I adjust? Ask for support when you need it.
Be flexible. Adapt your plan. Maybe review your goals. Are they still relevant?
And cultivate a positive mindset. Gratitude, positive self-talk, they genuinely help buffer against discouragement.
Developing a growth mindset seems crucial here too. Believing you can improve through effort.
Absolutely. Believing challenges are opportunities to learn, not proof you can't do it. Visualizing success helps. Focusing on small wins builds momentum.
Building resilience through self-care, connections, problem solving.
And understanding that failure is part of learning. Practicing self-forgiveness when you stumble, instead of beating yourself up.
Which brings us nicely to those inner qualities. Patience, consistency, self-forgiveness. They keep coming up.
They're foundational. Patience is about accepting delays and challenges without quitting. It helps you find purpose, build resilience.
Encourages thoughtfulness instead of rushing.
Exactly. And fosters self-regulation. You can cultivate it through things like mindfulness, gratitude, setting realistic expectations, and positive self-talk.
Inconsistency. We keep saying it, but it really is the engine of habit formation, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Showing up regularly, even imperfectly, that's what builds momentum, strengthens those neural pathways, fosters discipline, way more effective than sporadic bursts.
Habit stacking helps with consistency too.
Definitely. And then self-forgiveness. So important for letting go of guilt and shame when you mess up.
Which everyone does.
Everyone. It allows for self-acceptance, boosts self-esteem, improves mental health, builds resilience. It's not about excusing mistakes, but acknowledging them and learning from them.
And self-compassion, being kind to yourself, recognizing shared humanity and struggles,
Yeah.
being mindful of your suffering. The research suggests that's a more stable base for growth than just self-esteem.
It does. Self-esteem can fluctuate wildly based on success or failure. Self-compassion offers a more constant source of inner support.
Okay, so last piece of the puzzle. Tracking progress and celebrating wins. How important is that?
Hugely important for maintaining motivation. There are loads of tools. Habit trackers, journals for reflection, visual charts, breaking goals into milestones, productivity apps. Find what works for you.
But the key is actually using it to see your progress.
Yes, and then celebrating those wins, especially the small ones. Psychologically, it's powerful.
That dopamine hit again.
Exactly. It boosts mood, reinforces motivation, builds momentum, enhances confidence. It also helps counteract our brain's natural negativity bias, our tendency to focus on what's wrong.
So consciously acknowledging, hey, I stuck to my plan today, or I finished that tough task, that's a win.
Absolutely. Celebrate those small steps and reward yourself appropriately when you hit milestones, big or small. It reinforces the positive changes.
So wrapping this all up, the main takeaway seems clear. Lasting self-improvement isn't a quick fix.
Not at all. It's a journey. It requires shifting perspective, embracing sustainable strategies based on how we actually work.
Understanding the science, building habits brick by brick, and cultivating that inner resilience.
Yeah. Patience, consistency, self-compassion. Those are the real superpowers here.
We really hope this encourages you, the listener, to embrace that process, to understand the science and be kinder to yourself along the way.
It's an ongoing journey, not a destination you just arrive at.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Reflecting on all this, what's one small sustainable habit you feel genuinely inspired to start working on? And perhaps, how might those subtle societal pressures we talked about be influencing your approach to self-improvement, maybe in ways you haven't fully considered before?